My name is Emily, and I'm 34 years old. Imagine sitting across from your own sister, the person you let live in your home rent-free for nearly a decade, when she slams a stack of legal papers in front of you. Her voice was sharp, cold, and almost unrecognizable as she said, "I'm suing you." "And what for?" "For my house. The very house I worked my entire adult life to buy." I felt my stomach drop, my throat tighten, and my hands shake. My mind flashed back to our childhood, the sleepovers in the same room, whispering secrets under blankets, promising we'd always have each other's backs. And now here she was, looking me in the eye, trying to take everything from me. Before I take you deeper into this story, because trust me, it only gets darker, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more shocking family drama stories. You won't believe where this one ends. It all started almost 8 years ago. My sister Rachel was 26 at the time, and her life was falling apart. She had just gone through a toxic breakup with a guy who drained her savings. She had no job lined up, and she couldn't afford her own place. Meanwhile, I had just bought my home. It wasn't a mansion, but it was mine. A small 3-bedroom house with a cozy living room and a little backyard I was proud of. Rachel came to me crying, I don't know where else to go. Please, can I stay here just until I get back on my feet?" Of course I said yes. "You're my sister. Of course you can stay here. Stay as long as you need." She hugged me tightly, tears soaking my shoulder, and I felt good about my decision. I thought I was doing what any caring sister would. At first it was even kind of nice. We cooked together, had movie nights, and it felt like we were reconnecting. I told myself this was temporary, and that soon she'd move out, get her own place, and our bond would be stronger than ever. But months passed, then years, and Rachel didn't move out. She picked up a part-time job eventually, but instead of saving for her own apartment, she blew her money on new clothes, makeup hauls, and nights out. Whenever I gently brought up the idea of her getting her own place, she'd pout and say, "Are you really trying to throw me out after everything I've been through?" And of course, I'd feel guilty, so I let it go. But as the years dragged on, things got harder. Rachel stopped helping around the house. Dirty dishes piled up. Her laundry overflowed into the hallway. She hogged the living room every night, glued to her phone with the TV blaring. I would come home from long, exhausting days at work and find her sprawled across the couch, surrounded by empty takeout boxes. Still, I kept my mouth shut. She was my sister. Family sacrifices for each other, right? Then came the first big fight. One Sunday morning, I woke up to Rachel screaming on the phone. She was pacing the kitchen, yelling at some guy, another failed fling probably. I asked her to lower her voice because I had work the next morning. She snapped her head at me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. Didn't realize I had to live under your rules in my house." I froze. "Your house? Rachel? This isn't your house. It's mine." Her face twisted with something dark. "I've been living here for years. I've put just as much into this place as you have." But she hadn't. She never paid rent. She never paid the bills. She didn't contribute to the mortgage or even mow the lawn once. I wanted to fight back right then, but I bit my tongue. Maybe she just said it in anger. Maybe she didn't really mean it, except she kept saying it. My house. At first as a joke. Then as a dig. Eventually, she said it like she actually believed it. To friends, delivery guys, even when she ordered food. "Leave it at the door of my house." That's when I started keeping receipts. Every bill, every grocery run, every repair. I didn't know why. I just had a bad feeling, and then the nightmare became real. One evening, Rachel came home earlier than usual. She was dressed in business attire, with her hair pinned back and a folder in her hands. She sat me down at the dining table, the same table we used to laugh at over pizza nights, and pushed the folder toward me. Inside were legal documents. She was suing me. For the house. I looked at her in disbelief. "Rachel, what the hell is this?" Her voice was steady, almost rehearsed. "You can't just kick me out after I've lived here for almost a decade. I have rights now. Squatter's rights. And I'm not leaving without what I deserve." My heart shattered. My own sister. the girl I once swore I'd always protect, was dragging me into court. And this was just the beginning. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My eyes scanned over the legal jargon, but all I saw was betrayal. Plaintiff, Rachel Thompson. Defendant, Emily Thompson. My own sister, dragging me to court over a home she had never paid a single dime for. Rachel, this is insane, I said, my voice shaking. You've lived here rent-free for years. You've never paid bills. You've never contributed to the mortgage. How can you possibly think you're entitled to this house? She crossed her arms and leaned back in her chair, smirking like she'd already won. I've lived here long enough to establish residency. I've made this house my home. The court will see that I have rights. You can't just throw me out like trash. Her words cut deeper than I expected. Throw her out? I had given her shelter, safety, and support. I had sacrificed my privacy, my peace, and my sanity for her. And now she was painting me as the villain. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, asking myself over and over, how did it come to this? I thought back to every time I let her off the hook, every time I ignored her mess, every time I swallowed my anger to keep the peace. And now she was rewarding me with a lawsuit. The next morning, I called my mom. I needed advice, maybe even support. Mom, I said, my voice trembling. Rachel's suing me. For the house? There was silence on the other end. Then finally, a weary sigh. Oh, Emily. You know how Rachel is. She's always been dramatic. Mom, this isn't drama. This is real. She filed actual legal papers. But instead of siding with me, my mom's tone grew sharp. You have a good job, Emily. You've always been stable. Rachel hasn't had the same luck. Maybe she feels insecure, like you've had everything while she's struggled. Maybe this is her way of fighting back. My heart sank. So you're saying this is my fault? That I should just hand her my house? I'm saying she's your sister, Mom said firmly. Don't forget that. That call shattered me almost as much as Rachel's betrayal. My own mother wasn't standing by me. She was making excuses for Rachel, like she always had. I realized then that I couldn't rely on family to back me up. If I was going to fight this, I'd have to stand alone. The following weeks were a blur of legal consultations. I hired an attorney, Mr. Carter, who specialized in property disputes. He was calm, professional, and matter-of-fact. Emily, he said, flipping through Rachel's claim, your sister doesn't have a strong case. She never paid rent, utilities, or contributed to the property. Squatters' rights don't apply in situations where the occupant was invited to live in the home. That said, he paused, adjusting his glasses. That said what? I asked nervously. She could make things messy. If she convinces the court she had an understanding with you about ownership, or if she portrays herself as financially dependent, the judge may sympathize. Cases like this can get emotional, especially when it's family. Emotional. That was Rachel's specialty. She could cry on command, twist words, and turn herself into the victim of any story. I knew this battle wouldn't just be about facts, it would be about perception. Sure enough, Rachel wasted no time poisoning the waters. She started telling everyone in our family and circle of friends that I was kicking her out after she had invested years into the house. She claimed she decorated, maintained, and even paid for repairs, which was a blatant lie. Cousins started messaging me. Why are you being so harsh on Rachel? She just needs stability. A family friend even called me. Emily, can't you just share the house? You have so much already. I was furious. Rachel was rewriting history, and people were buying it. One night, I confronted her directly. She was lounging on the couch, eating ice cream and scrolling her phone. Why are you lying to everyone? I demanded. You've never paid for this house. You've never helped with anything. And now you're making me look like the bad guy. She looked up at me, spoon still in her mouth, and said flatly, because it's working. I was speechless. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about the house anymore. This was about power. Rachel wanted to humiliate me, to make me look like the villain, to take everything I had worked for, just because she felt entitled to it. And as the court date drew closer, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my home. I was fighting for my dignity. The day of the first hearing arrived faster than I expected. My stomach was in knots as I walked into the courthouse, clutching a folder of documents Mr. Carter had prepared, receipts, utility bills, mortgage statements, all proof that I had paid for everything. Rachel, on the other hand, walked in like she owned the place. She wore a fitted blazer, heels that clicked confidently on the floor, and a smug smile plastered across her face. It made me sick. This wasn't the sister I remembered growing up with. This was a stranger, someone hungry for something that wasn't hers. When the judge entered and the proceedings began, Rachel wasted no time turning on the waterworks. She painted herself as a poor, struggling sister who had sacrificed her youth, helping me maintain the home. "Your Honor," she said, her voice trembling, "I've lived in that house for nearly 10 years. I cooked meals, I decorated, I even paid for groceries when Emily couldn't. I considered it our home. I was promised stability and now she's throwing me out on the street." Every word was a dagger. None of it was true, but she said it with such conviction that even I almost doubted myself for a second. Mr. Carter leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't react." Let her dig her own hole, but it was hard. Watching her twist reality so effortlessly made my blood boil. When it was my turn to speak, my voice shook at first, but then I steadied myself. I looked directly at the judge. "Your Honor, I bought that house with my own money, years before Rachel ever moved in. She has never paid a single mortgage payment. She has never paid utilities. She never even covered her own share of groceries. I welcomed her into my home when she had nowhere else to go. I thought I was helping my sister. Instead, she's trying to take everything I worked for." I handed over the documents, stack after stack of evidence showing that every financial responsibility was on me. Mr. Carter explained clearly. Rachel was a guest, not a co-owner, not a tenant with a lease, and certainly not someone with squatter's rights. The judge listened carefully, his expression unreadable. But I noticed something. When Rachel interrupted me several times, whining that I was exaggerating, the judge's patience thinned. Still, Rachel wasn't done. She brought out photos, pictures of her painting the guest room, helping set up furniture, planting flowers in the garden. "See, Your Honor?" she pleaded. "This wasn't just her house. I invested my time, my effort, my life into making it a home." I wanted to scream. She made it sound like hanging curtains was the same as paying a mortgage. Mr. Carter stood calmly. "Decorating a room or buying the occasional plant does not equate to home ownership. Your Honor, the law is very clear on this." The judge nodded. But I could see he was weighing both sides carefully. During the recess, I sat outside the courtroom, my hands shaking as I scrolled through messages from friends and family. One text from my cousin made my stomach turn. "Rachel told us you're trying to make her homeless. Why are you being so cruel?" Cruel. That's what everyone was starting to believe. Because Rachel was louder. Because Rachel played the victim. Because Rachel knew how to spin a story better than I did. Mr. Carter noticed my expression. "She's winning the emotional battle. But don't worry, we'll win the legal one. The judge isn't swayed by theatrics. Just hold on." But deep down, I wasn't so sure. The second half of the hearing was brutal. Rachel brought up personal attacks, claiming I was controlling, that I had isolated her from the family, that I was jealous of her freedom while I lived a boring, work-obsessed life. The lies stung more than I expected. She wasn't just trying to take my house. She was trying to destroy my character. I held back tears as I replied, "Your Honor, this isn't about jealousy or control. This is about my home, the one place in this world I thought was safe. Rachel is trying to take that from me, and I can't let her." The room went quiet for a moment. I saw Rachel shift uncomfortably in her seat, her smirk fading just slightly. That tiny crack in her confidence gave me hope. When the judge finally adjourned for the day, he said something that echoed in my head the entire drive home. "This case is more complicated emotionally than it is legally. I will review the evidence carefully before making a decision." Emotionally. That word haunted me because Rachel thrived on emotions. She knew how to cry, how to twist, how to turn people against me. That night, as I sat alone in my living room, the same living room she still lounged in like it was hers, I realized something terrifying. Even if I won the legal battle, I might lose everyone else in my family, and I wasn't sure which was worse. The next hearing felt like walking straight into an ambush. I arrived with my lawyer, clutching my folder of evidence, determined to hold my ground. But when I walked into the courtroom, my heart nearly stopped. Sitting next to Rachel was someone I never expected to see on her side, my mother. I froze in the doorway. My own mom, the woman who raised us, who watched me work double shifts to save for my down payment, who came to the open house with me when I bought the place, was sitting there with her. Rachel glanced at me with a triumphant smile. My mother avoided my eyes. When the judge called the session to order, Rachel's attorney stood up and announced, "Your Honor, we would like to call a witness to testify on Rachel's behalf." And then, my mom rose from her seat, my chest tightened, my vision blurred. I could barely breathe as she took the stand, swore the oath, and sat down. "Ma'am," Rachel's attorney began, "can you tell the court about Emily and Rachel's living arrangement?" My mom cleared her throat, her voice shaky but loud enough for everyone to hear. "Yes. When Rachel moved in, Emily told us it was for as long as Rachel needed. She said, 'This will always be your home too.' Rachel took that to mean she had a permanent right to be there." My mouth dropped open. That wasn't true. Yes, I had said Rachel could stay as long as she needed, but it was an expression of kindness, not a legal contract. My lawyer jumped in. "Mrs. Thompson, did Emily ever explicitly say that Rachel was entitled to ownership of the property?" Mom hesitated, then admitted, "Not in those words, no. But Emily has always had more than Rachel. She's had the good job, the money, the house. Rachel, she's just trying to have some security." The words pierced me deeper than I thought possible. Instead of defending me, my own mother was justifying Rachel's greed. Rachel's attorney pressed further. "Would you say Rachel has contributed to the home in non-financial ways?" "Yes," Mom said quickly. "She decorated. She kept Emily company. She made the place warm. Without Rachel, Emily would just be living in an empty house," the courtroom murmured. My lawyer immediately objected. "Emotional companionship does not equate to ownership, Your Honor." The judge nodded, sustaining the objection, but the damage was done. Rachel got exactly what she wanted, sympathy. When it was my turn, I fought back tears as I addressed the judge. "Your Honor, I love my sister. I let her stay with me out of compassion. But love and compassion do not mean ownership. Rachel is twisting my kindness into a contract that never existed. And my mother, she's blinded by favoritism. She's always made excuses for Rachel. This is just another example of that." I looked directly at my mom as I said it. For the first time, she met my eyes. And I swear I saw guilt flicker across her face. But she still didn't say anything to defend me. Outside the courtroom during recess, I finally confronted her. "How could you do this to me?" I demanded, tears welling in my eyes. Mom sighed. "Emily, you'll be fine no matter what happens. You're strong, you're successful. Rachel isn't. She needs this more than you do." I felt my entire world tilt. "She doesn't need my house, Mom. She just wants it." "And you're enabling her." Mom's voice hardened. "I'm trying to protect both of my daughters." "No," I snapped. "You're choosing one over the other, and it isn't me." I turned and walked away before she could see me break down completely. That night, back at home, Rachel acted like nothing had happened. She was sprawled on the couch with a glass of wine, scrolling her phone. "Rough day?" She smirked. Something inside me snapped. "You're unbelievable," I hissed. "You've turned Mom against me. You're lying to everyone, and you're still sitting in my house like it's yours." She raised her glass lazily. "Correction. Our house. And soon it'll just be mine." I stormed upstairs before I did something I'd regret. But in that moment, I realized something. Rachel wasn't just after the house. She was after me. She wanted to see me broken, humiliated, stripped of everything I'd worked for, and I was determined not to give her the satisfaction. The final hearing was approaching, and I knew it would be the climax. One way or another, this nightmare was going to end. The final hearing day felt like walking into a battlefield. I hadn't slept the night before. My mind kept replaying every fight, every betrayal, every moment Rachel and I used to be close. Now all of that was fuel. I walked into the courtroom with my head high, determined not to let her steal one more thing from me. Rachel was already there, sitting smugly beside her attorney, whispering and laughing like this was just a game. My mother sat behind her, arms folded tightly, avoiding my eyes. Mr. Carter leaned close to me and whispered, "Today we go all in. Stick to facts. Let her show her true colors." When the judge entered and called the session to order, Rachel's attorney gave a long, emotional speech about family loyalty, sacrifices, and promises broken. He made me sound like a cruel, heartless sister who had used Rachel for years only to cast her aside. Rachel even pulled out more tears, sobbing dramatically as she said, "I trusted Emily. She promised me a home. Now she wants to destroy me." The judge looked at her carefully, but didn't speak. Then it was my turn. My hands shook as I stood up, but I forced my voice to stay steady. "Your Honor," I began, "this isn't about broken promises or sacrifices. This is about facts. I purchased that house with my own income. I've paid every bill, every repair, every expense. Rachel has contributed nothing financially. Nothing. I let her stay with me because she was my sister, because I wanted to help her. And this is how she repays me, by suing me for something she never earned." Mr. Carter began presenting the evidence. Thick binders of mortgage statements, bank transfers, receipts. The judge flipped through page after page, nodding slowly, but Rachel wasn't going down without a fight. "Your Honor," she suddenly blurted, standing up dramatically, "those papers don't tell the whole story. I put in emotional labor. I gave my time, my energy, my companionship. That house wouldn't even feel like a home without me in it." The courtroom murmured. The judge raised his hand for silence. "Ms. Thompson, please sit down." But Rachel wouldn't. "She's lying. She's always been jealous of me, jealous that I'm prettier, more fun, more loved." "Rachel," the judge barked, his patience wearing thin. "Sit down." Her attorney tugged her arm, trying to calm her, but she yanked it away, still ranting about how I was a controlling sister who wanted to see her homeless and miserable. And just like that, I saw the judge's expression shift. Her act was unraveling. Then came the moment that sealed everything. Mr. Carter calmly pulled out the final piece of evidence, a series of text messages Rachel had sent me over the years. He read them aloud. "Thanks again for letting me stay here until I get back on my feet. I promise I'll save up soon. I know I've been here too long, but you're seriously a lifesaver, Em. I'll figure out my own place eventually, I swear." The judge looked directly at Rachel. "These messages clearly indicate acknowledgement that you were a guest in your sister's home, not a co-owner or tenant. Do you dispute sending these?" Rachel's face went pale. I don't remember." The judge cut her off. "Do you dispute sending them?" She hesitated, then mumbled, "No." The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time, Rachel looked small, cornered. When the judge delivered his decision, my heart pounded in my ears. Based on the evidence provided, it is clear that Emily Thompson is the sole legal owner of the property in question. Rachel Thompson has no legal claim to ownership or tenancy. The case is dismissed. I exhaled so sharply it almost turned into a sob. Relief washed over me like a wave. After months of lies, manipulation, and betrayal, I had finally won. Rachel, however, exploded. "This isn't fair," she screamed, standing up and slamming her hands on the table. "She doesn't deserve that house." "I do. I made it a home." "You're all blind." The judge banged his gavel. "One more outburst and I'll have you removed from this courtroom." Rachel's attorney looked humiliated. My mother just sat frozen, her face pale, her eyes darting between us. And me? For the first time in months, I smiled. Outside the courthouse, Rachel stormed off without a word. My mom lingered, finally approaching me. "Emily," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just thought Rachel needed more help than you did." I shook my head. "You don't see it, Mom. Rachel doesn't need help. She wants control. And you've been feeding that her whole life." Her eyes filled with tears, but I walked away before she could respond. Because for once, I wasn't carrying her burden anymore. When I got home that night, I walked through my front door and breathed deeply. The house felt different, lighter. For the first time in years, it was truly mine again, and I swore to myself I would never let Rachel or anyone else take that from me again. The days after the trial were quiet. Too quiet. Rachel didn't come home that night, or any night after. She packed her things when I was at work and left without a word. No note, no apology. Just gone. At first, I thought I would feel empty. Guilty, maybe, but instead, what I felt was free. For the first time in years, I could walk through my house without the tension of wondering if I'd come home to a mess, an argument, or some new drama Rachel had created. Still, the silence wasn't easy. The truth is, when you cut off someone toxic, even when it's the right decision, you don't just lose them. You lose the version of yourself that spent years trying to fix them. It didn't take long for Rachel's world to start crumbling. Mutual friends stopped reaching out to her after they realized she had been lying about me during the case. Word spread quickly in our small town. Employers weren't interested in hiring someone with a public record of filing a baseless lawsuit against her own sister. The sympathy she'd expected to get? It never came. People started seeing her for who she really was: manipulative, entitled, toxic. I didn't celebrate her downfall. Not really. But there was a strange sense of justice in watching karma do its work. She wanted to take everything from me and ended up losing almost everything herself. As for my mother, things didn't heal overnight. For weeks, she barely spoke to me. I think deep down, she felt guilty for taking Rachel's side so blindly, but pride wouldn't let her admit it. One evening, she showed up at my door, her face pale, her eyes heavy with regret. "I don't know if you'll forgive me," she whispered, "but I want to try again. I chose the wrong daughter to protect, and I can't undo that. But I don't want to lose you too." I studied her face for a long time. Part of me wanted to slam the door, to protect my peace at all costs. But another part, the part that still remembered family dinners, late-night talks, and the way my mother used to tuck me in when I was little, couldn't do it. "I'll give you another chance," I said quietly. "But only if you respect my boundaries. I can't keep sacrificing myself for Rachel." "Not anymore," tears filled her eyes as she nodded. And for the first time in months, I felt like I had my mother back. Rachel, however, never came back. I heard through the grapevine that she bounced from couch to couch, burning bridges wherever she went. The last I heard, she'd moved out of state, chasing some new fresh start. But people like Rachel don't change until they want to, and she never wanted to. So I let her go. Life after the trial was different, calmer. I redecorated the house, painting the walls in colors Rachel would have hated. I bought furniture that felt mine, not things I'd compromised on to keep her happy. Every corner of that house finally reflected me. I even started hosting small gatherings, inviting friends over for dinner, laughter echoing through the rooms that used to be filled with tension. Slowly, I rebuilt not just my home, but my life. And yet, sometimes late at night, I'd lie in bed and wonder, did I do the right thing? The answer always came back the same. Yes. Because protecting yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. And if family can't respect you, then maybe they don't deserve to be family at all. Looking back now, I realize Rachel taught me something, even in her cruelty. She taught me that love without respect is dangerous, that loyalty without limits will break you, and that sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply surviving, thriving, and refusing to let them win. I lost a sister, but I gained myself, and in the end, that was worth everything. She wanted my home, my life, my peace. But in trying to steal everything from me, she lost everything herself. And me, I finally won.